memory.
I have known Professor Pugh now about 45 years, ever since I was his student at LSU in the late 1960s.
I met George in 1973 when I was a student at law school and was called upon in evidence class to answer a question I didn't know the answer to.
I took George for about 4 or 5 different classes, evidence, federal court.
He was a wonderful professor. He was very precise about his thinking.
George is functionally blind and has been since he was in his 20s. And so he relies on his ears more than his eyes, and he's very interactive in class.
Professor Pugh's reputation was for being a master of the so-called Socratic method,
which is a question and answer by the professor of the students, and intimidated many, many students.
Because he couldn't see very well, sometimes you try to hide behind someone else.
Fear is a great motivator.
But he was a terrific, terrific professor.
George Pugh is responsible for thousands of lawyers understanding the code of evidence and the law of evidence. He was a fabulous teacher and instructor and took very complicated issues and made them very simple.
He's a very intense professor. He's a very intense person about what he does, but he has a wonderful humanitarian streak to him. He wants to see every student succeed, and that's his goal as a teacher.
He was just the most extraordinary professor, and as I say, there's all kinds of folks out there that we owe our idealism and our principles to George.
He was also very interested in his students and what was going on. He knew about our personal lives, he knew our children, he knew our wives, and he shared his home with many of us. I think that people that don't know him probably did not know of the closeness and relationship that he had with Jean.
Jean went to law school in order to help him, to basically be his eyes.
She and he were a team. George got his name on the book, but Jean wrote it.
And Jean would record every year at the end of the semester, hundreds of exams she would dictate into a tape recorder because he couldn't see. And then he would listen to those tape recordings and he would grade the exams. The two of them were just an extraordinary team.
From up and down and still somehow it's cloudy.
Professor Pugh deserves this award as much as any professor who has ever received this award. He came to the law school in the early 1950s as a teacher. He was the rookie on a bench that was studded with all-stars.
There's some folks there that were huge, and George joined the faculty in his 20s.
He's really in a forest full of tall trees.
And perhaps no one really thought that George could match up with these great individuals.
But it didn't faze him.
He has become, if not their equal, their superior. And that is something that will always be a great accomplishment.
He was the person who is most remembered from my law school career, and I think that would be the case with an awful lot of law students.
And still somehow it's love's illusions.
Hey George, congratulations, and I love you.
Senior Professor Pugh, congratulations on this night and this honor. There is no other person that I can think of who is more deserving. You have been an inspiration.
George, congratulations on winning this award. I know that I have the honor of representing thousands of students of yours and friends of yours and colleagues of yours who say that there is no one more deserving than you.
Friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. Well, something's lost, but something's gained in living every day.